Great. Hello, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. Thank you for coming to, the Scratch conference and, spending some time with me. And we're going to go and learn over a couple of fascinating things that I found working with students. So we're going to be talking about scratching with music and using the Scratch program. And no, you don't have to be a musician, although if you are, that helps, wonderfully to be able to do that. A little bit about myself. I started as a saxophonist. I've been playing for over 20 years. And then once I pursued my education and at the university level, I transitioned more towards education and education technology, especially since I was studying during the pandemic area in graduate school. And that kind of really forced me to take on a different approach on how education really works. But you might all be wondering, why should you use music in Scratch? There are plenty of other projects that do, and why that specifically? And some of the benefits that I have found, well, that students will enjoy being creative. Everyone loves to make something. And, especially when you get to the middle and high school range, even late elementary school, students are starting to develop their own identity through music. They have their favorite bands and artists. So being able to create a high sense of ownership and responsibility is really the key to making incredible projects. You will also find incorporation of other abilities, such as if they play a musical instrument, other school subjects, algebra, math, science, and pretty much all the STEAM subjects, and of course, artistic ability. Another thing that you can use that I personally enjoy is collaboration with other departments, the music department, the English department. Scratch literally is flexible enough to do anything that you want, which I find incredible. And so we're going to look at a couple of student examples that we're going to go over to show you that anyone can do it. These were actually completed by fourth and fifth graders. So I have a creative tech class where I work, and we're just going to kind of go over, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this today. So this is a simple game, and you control a character, and you have to make it all the way to the end. In this case, it's a you have to make it to the bike. So it's pretty difficult. So that's enough of that. I don't even think I can beat that one. And here's another one by another student. It's a little bit simpler. And of course, they have fun sound effects. And for some reason, their audio track isn't playing. So I'm going to show you step by step on how to do it. I'm also going to post links on how to do it and a simple and complicated version on how to do it. Let's see. Paste. So that's one of the projects that we're going to be making right now. So if we could all hop on Scratch, if you don't have a Scratch account, you can just go to the Create on the home screen. I'm sure we're all familiar with Scratch in some capacity. That's why we are here, and show you really how simple this is to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and share that particular screen. Cool. Can everybody see this? Awesome. Wonderful. So it is not that complicated to make a functioning game. I'm going to go ahead and push play. I have a little cat. So I put the link in the chat for this specific game so you can see inside. But we're going to go over, and I want you to be able to follow along on how to create this game from scratch. No pun intended. So we're just going to make a new project. So everyone should have this blank screen. Is there anyone that's relatively new to Scratch or hasn't used it before? Go ahead and leave a comment in the chat. Or is everyone kind of know where everything is at and Familiar? New. Alrighty, so it looks pretty mixed. So I'm going to go over step by step on where everything is. And so the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to we're going to go to this cat in the lower right hand corner. It's called choose a sprite. So a sprite is a character inside Scratch. And so I use them interchangeably. And we're going to go to paint. So we're going to go to this sprite in the lower right hand corner, and we're going to go to paint. And then you're going to see a screen that looks exactly like this. Give you a couple of seconds to make sure everybody is there. Cool. So once you are on paint, you're going to convert to bitmap at the bottom left half corner. So everything kind of looks pixely, kind of like those old retro games. And we're going to go to the fill button. So you're going to pick a color. Let's do, I like purple. So I'm just going to pick purple. And I'm going to push anywhere inside the box. And so keep in mind what these colors are. So unfortunately, the game is not like, oh, we're going to use purple. So you want to keep in mind the color, which is 74, saturation 60, brightness 100. We're going to use that later, and that's going to be used very important. And so it's filled in. Boom. So you have a whole square that is purple or whatever color you chose. And so then we're going to go to the erase button. That's right here. So we were at the fill. Now we're going to be at the erase. And we're going to draw our track. So what you're going to erase is going to be our track, our tunnel for the game that we're about to create. So if you make it smaller, it's going to be more challenging. If you make it wider, it's going to be easier to play. So keep that in mind with the age range that you are working with. Older students, you can make it as challenging as you want. But if you're in a younger demographic, you want to make that as simple as possible. So I'm just going to draw something simple. Doesn't add a little more squiggly lines. And this is where students have a lot of fun doing this. I'm going to make mine a little bit fat and then make it thinner. And you can always change this later. So there is my track. So that is done. So now we're going to go ahead and we're done. So whatever you drew, if you're happy with it, perfect. If not, we can work on it later. So now we're going to go back to the cat because we need to start making our code for the game. So we're at sprite 2. So we're going to make sure we push sprite 1 so that we're controlling the cat. And we're going to go to code in the top left because right now we're under costumes, which affects the visuals. So there's 3 tabs on the top: sounds, costumes, and code. And we want to make sure we're on code with the cat highlighted in the bottom right. Because if you're coding on the wrong screen, your game will not work. Then we're going to add a couple things. The first thing that you want to do is you want to add when clicked. So that means when the game starts, when you push this little green flag, this is going to happen. It's like we're playing Simon Says. If you don't do that, then nothing is going to happen, even if you have a beautiful line of code. As you can see, my cat is kind of behind my track. So we need to fix that. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go under the purple tab on the left, looks, and we are going to set it in the front layer. So that way when I push under the purple section, so when I push the green flag, boom. Now the cat is where it is in the front layer. If you notice, the cat doesn't fit inside of the track. It's a little too big, so we need to change the size. Right now, the size is at 100 if you look at this portion of the screen. So I'm going to reduce it by half and see if that's better. And then I'm going to click and drag. It's still a little big, so I am going to make it even smaller. Perfect. So it seems for me, in my case, it might be 25 on your track. It might be a little bit different. So these numbers are arbitrary depending on the size that you are making it. Then I'm going to click this cat and drag it to where I want to start the game. So I want it to start all the way up here. That's where it is. Notice the position that it's in. So for those of you that are going back to algebra and having nightmares, I apologize, but there is some numbers involved in here. Not too complicated. So it is at negative 186, y 108. So we need to go to motion. And what we're going to tell Scratch, what we're going to tell the game is that every time the game starts or restarts, we want the cat to start here. And Scratch, by default, automatically picks the position where the cat is. So I'm just going to push right here, go to this position. So when I'm going to start the game, the cat is always going to start there. Then from there, we need to control it somehow. So we're going to control it with our mouse. So that's going to be under the sensing. So anything to do with sensing or controlling is going to be under this kind of light blue. So we're going to go wait until touching. I forgot that part. So it's going to go there until we tell it to do something. So wait until we are touching the mouse pointer, and we can kind of double check to see if that works. Nope. So we are missing still a few things, and we're going to repeat because we want them to keep doing the action until I hit the purple or the color that we used. So we are going to repeat until, and then we got to go to sensing again. Yes, it is being recorded, so you can always double check. I know I'm going a little fast. Trust me, this is not how I do it with my students. I probably spend, a whole day, whole class, just this part. Repeat until touching. So we're going to pick touching right here. But we make this a sprite. So the track that we just drew right here in my screen, the purple and white thing, is another character or another sprite. Although it may not look like it, that's what it's functioning as. So you have to change it because right now it's the mouse pointer. So we want to change it to sprite 2. And then we're going to have to go back to motion. Where is it? Go to, and not a random position. We don't want it. We want it to go to the mouse pointer. So let's do a test run. And as you can see, I can control the character with my mouse. And when I hit the wall or the color purple, it stops the game. But it only does that one time. So we need to add a forever clause. Where was it? There it is. So we want to make sure that this happens over and over and over again. Yes, I can make the screen full size. Give me 1 second. Boom. And let me zoom in a little more right here. Thank you. So we want to add the forever clause because right now it's only doing this once. So I play the game and the game's over. There's no redo. So we want to do a forever. So we're going to get all of this and put it inside this forever. Right here, I'll do it again. So we just wrote these 3 things. So when the game starts, you're going to go to this position or whatever the position you chose. We're going to wait until, so it's not going to do anything until it's touching the mouse pointer. It's going to repeat until you're touching the second sprite, which is the thing that we just drew. And it's going to do that forever, forever, forever. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it and put it underneath. And I should do this over and over. As you can see, every time I hit the purple, it's going back to the starting point over and over. So now we have our game. So I might have to make this a little bit bigger at the bottom for me to get through. Sorry, I can't even beat my own game. So this is our base game right here. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code. So an elementary school student can easily accomplish this in a lesson or two to make this. Obviously, there's more details that we can add. We can add more NPCs in here. We can add more drawings, high scores, and I will post a link of that on what we can add. But we want to make this game a little more interesting. So what we want to do is we want to add a sound effect that has it. So I'm just going to push this first one right here. Play sound meow until done. And I'm going to put this at the end right here. And it should make that sound every time I hit the wall. And it does. It's a little bit loud. I apologize, but you get the idea. Doesn't have to be that sound. But now you have your base game that we just made in 30 minutes. Fiona, I miss how you get the cat up to the front. So that's this purple block right here. It's the second line. It's under looks and go to front layer. That's going to make sure that your cat is always in the front on this track pad. So now we have our base game right there. But it's missing something. And I think what is missing is a sound track. And so I'm going to go back to my slides. So we're going to talk about a DAW. And so a DAW is a digital audio workstation. And here's a couple that I highly recommend. Soundtrap, which is what I'll be using today, GarageBand, and BandLab. And so the reason why I recommend these three is because they're free. So just like Scratch, they're all free. However, GarageBand is only limited to Apple's devices. So if you have iPads in your classroom, or if the students are old enough to have iPhones, they are already pre-installed, so it's easy to use. However, there's some students or some schools that don't have those devices, so I like to use browser-based programs because you can use it at any school, and they're free. So that is a wonderful thing. And here's a couple of examples that I want to show you of student work. And so I'm going to play these files. So that was made by a fourth or fifth grade girl. And to me, it sounded absolutely incredible. So that was also made by a fourth grade student. And in that particular class, I didn't teach anything music related. It wasn't a music class. It was a creative technology class. So we talk about some elements of music production and coding. So I didn't teach anything about reading music, although I do have that background, composing, rhythms, writing the notes, playing the piano, although a couple of students did take piano lessons, so they're able to incorporate it in that project. But this is just about finding sounds, what sounds good, and incorporating them into your game. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to this website right here. So it is called Soundtrap. I'm going to go ahead and post the link in the chat. And so it does take a little bit of a while to make an account, but it is completely free. Your students can also use it if you happen to teach them. And they do have plans where you have a school account, so much like a Google Class or any other learning software that you use for classroom management. You can assign homework, projects, and look over them. And they can work together collaboratively in real time like a Google Doc, which is one of the reasons why I like this program. So we're going to go over there. So I already logged in, and I literally just typed in piano chords, and this is what I found. So this is a loop. It's something that was already created, and I'm just going to push play and see if I like it. So that sounds cool, but let's say I wanted to find some drums. So in the search bar, I'm going to type drums. I'm going to pick the first one. So let's see how that sounds. Click and drag, and automatically the software is going to align in the same tempo, the same key, and let's see what it sounds like. So it's listenable, and they're not going to win any Grammys anytime soon, but that sounds really cool in and of itself. So let's say I am totally in love with my project, and I am going to download it right here. Do I want it to master? Yes, it's going to mix and master. I have the saved file. And now I'm going to incorporate that into Scratch. So I'm going to go back to my project. So let me share that screen, the game that we just made. Was that it? No, it was the untitled one. Let's see. Stop sharing. Share screen. There we go. That's it. So I'm going to go back. So we're back into Scratch. And then I'm going to go to the sound tab right here. So this was a default sound that we used earlier. But Scratch enables us to upload and customize our own sound. So just like how we created this track earlier, I am going to upload a sound. So I'm going to push upload, and this is the song that I literally just made in Soundtrap. That took me literally 20 seconds. Let's see if it's it. Bingo. There it is. So let's go back to the code, and we're going to go to events. When clicked, we can make a separate line. This time we're going to go into sounds, and we're going to go play sound until done, and it is going to be an entitled song. So let's see if it works with our game. Bingo. So now our game is a little bit more complete with the soundtrack in mind. Of course, the students are not going to do it in 30 or 40 seconds, but I'm just showing you a demonstration of what you could do in a game. I'm going to show you a more developed project that I actually used in the classroom. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. I will also post a link to this. So this is a template that I actually used in my classrooms. And as you can see, we still have the same line. So these first six are exactly the same as what we did earlier. But I've written notes on what everything else does. So now in this version of the game, when you reach the end, which I don't think I can if I were to play this game, but I'm going to try it. Let's see. Nope. All right. So let's see what happens if I can cheat a little bit.
Congratulations, you beat my game.
So I put a little, script that says congratulations, and you beat my game, and now you're able to enter and input your high score. So the students have a lot of fun. Trying to complete this game. Of course, their versions of their game, which is super fun. There's also a high score count, time tracker. It plays a song that one of the students made, and it's just a little bit more lines, but it is not that difficult. Of course, you will have this for reference as well as this recording so that you're able to repeat some version of this. And what I find very interesting about this game or this particular project is that it is completely open-ended. The sky is the limit. It can be as easy, just like the easy version that we made a little while ago, or as difficult or even more difficult than this. The possibilities are endless, and your students will have an absolute blast using it. A couple of other programs, or let's go back to Sound Trap for a bit. So for you music aficionados out there, there are plenty of advanced features, but one of the reasons why I like this program is that you are not bombarded with so many options. Of course, there are some mixing and mastering features that you can use. If I can just pull them up. There we go. As you can see, you can add some EQ and stuff. I don't recommend unless you are actually teaching a production class, but you can also make sound effects. So if you remember in our game, it made the little meow sound, but let's say a student made a cow game and I want to find a cow effect. So I'm just going to type cow. Nah. All right, that's pretty funny. So I'm going to drag this over here. Got it. Ta-da. I'm going to delete these other ones. Delete, and here's my effect. So it might be a little bit annoying, but the students have an absolute blast and they can make their own, which has opened a window of unexpected proportions. I'm sure you can imagine with but they're all appropriate, so you have to listen to it ahead of time. So let's say I'm making a cow game and I'm going to go ahead and save it. So let's go to download. Do I want to mix and master? Yes. So it's called, let's change the name so I know what it is. Cow effect. So let's save it one more time. Save, download. Yes. Boom. Let's go back to Scratch. Share screen. And let's go back to the original game that we made. And we're going to get rid of this. Actually, no, we can keep it there. And we're going to change it with the sound that I literally just made. Upload sound, cow effect. There it is. And we're going to go back to the code. And we're going to change the meow to cow effect. So now when we play the game, now it makes that cow effect. We can also change this sprite to make it a cow. So students can find one, they can draw one. Let's see if Scratch has one. So I'm going to put cow. No, they don't. So animals. A llama is close enough. And so, as you can see, now we have our new game. So now this is what our game looks like. It's still a little big, so let's make it smaller. 15. There we go. So it might be impossible to make it there, but then you would adjust the game as you see fit. Yes, it is cool to create a musical piece and illustrate the mood with colors. Yep. So a couple of logistical things will happen when you do this in the classroom. Is one, you have to use headphones. Absolutely, it is. You have to, otherwise it's just going to be chaotic. And you have to have this, set a time limit. Like, all right, students, we're going to have 2 minutes to, incorporate sounds, or 5, whatever you choose to be. And although it can be fun, we have to complete the assigned project and do a really good job. And I feel like when you play some of them in person, or you tell the students that you're going to play it for the school, like we have a little school website where the students can post their projects, they're going to take it a lot more seriously than instead of just joking around and making fart sounds, or, I'm sure you all have a vivid imagination on what they could use to make this game. And so, yeah, I agree with you that they really love to play, and it would be hard for them to stop. So just to kind of go back, entitled, oops, let me save what we incorporated. So as you can see, the sky is the limit when making it. Also, I would highly recommend that if you were to use this in your students or in your personal projects, to label stuff, because sometimes you may not be able to look at it and say, oh, this is where the problem is. And just having little notes so that students come back to it whenever they want. And of course, YouTube is a valuable resource. They can find other ways to do things. They can even customize their own background and whatnot. I'm going to go over. So glad I am not fluttering the mouse. Thanks. So I want to show you another program that is really cool. So if you want to do this with even younger students, and maybe adding tracks into Soundtrap is daunting, and you may not want to be bothered with those types of things, or they're just not at that age range where they're mature enough to do this. Like if you wanted to do it with really young students, because they can do the effects. This might be a little too much. So one of the things that I recommend is this site called Incredibox. So I'm going to push this in the chat. Incredibox.com, and we're going to go ahead and use that and share. So this is a program that I found out only a few years ago, and it allows you to make your own music with just a push of a button. So you have these guys, they look like hip hop guys, and all you do is you just tap them and they play. So I'm going to drag one of these icons and he's going to play something. And then I can activate another person. And of course, I can mix in real time by muting. They're still playing. Bring them back. So you're kind of like a live DJ for yourself. The students really love this because it is very simple. And you can also save it. So let's say I want to record. And I'm going to go ahead and push these right. And I'm going to push record. Boom, fantastic. And so I've recorded it, save, name, JG, next title, song 1, dedicated to students. Boom. So I'm going to export it, my link, copy to clipboard, and there it's done. So this is the free version. So unfortunately, it doesn't have all the features, and I couldn't select all the individuals that were there, but you kind of get the gist of it. And of course, you can incorporate that into Scratch. So this works for a much younger demographic, but also middle school students would also love to enjoy this. If you have music students, though, if you want to go on the high end, and so students that have musical knowledge, we can still go to Soundtrap. We're going to make a new project. You can go to playing the synth, and it'll actually give you a keyboard. So I had a couple of students who were piano players, and they're actually able to play the notes. Of course, you can actually connect the keyboard. You can record musical instruments, so you can attach microphones. And so if I wanted to allow something and actually record my voice and import that in to Scratch to make it an even more invigorating experience that it already has. If the students have professional software, or if you're teaching a high-level production class, like if you use Logic or Pro Tools, you can also use those programs as well. Yes, one thing I have to say is that regarding these apps and anything that you can use to enhance your Scratch experience, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of programs that you can choose from to enhance your project. So there's going to be things that I absolutely haven't heard of and things that are in development that I haven't heard of either. So my recommendation is to use what works. I was exposed to Soundtrap earlier. I like how it looks. It's simple. Is it the best one? That's, that is left to debate. But I like that it has simple and everything makes sense and is completely accessible. So let's say I wanted to record piano. I don't have my piano set up, but let's say I just play a couple of notes. It's going to tell me, it's going to count me in. So and then we stop, and it recorded that actual part. So even if your student or the people that you're working with are not, musically developed yet, you can add things to support that. So what did I play? I played the notes E. Bum, 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 bum. So now I'm going to find something. We're going to go to Loop Library and find something that supports that. So let's see. Strings. I like strings. So I'm just going to type it in the search bar. That's kind of cool. Let's see how that sounds. Let's change it to the right key. Don't adjust. So it's a little bit off, but then I can copy and paste it over here and repeat. And see, just literally playing 5 notes, it already sounds, I was going to say professional, but it already sounds like a more developed project. So let's combine them. Let's add this section. Everything is very intuitive with right-clicking, left-clicking. You just put copy and paste. Everybody knows how to do that, I hope. Copy, paste. So let's go back to Scratch. Let's say I'm a student. I play piano. I recorded everything. We're downloading it. Let's change the name. Oh, that's fine. Untitled 2. I'll remember. So let's go back to the project that we were working on. And now let's go to sounds. We're going to upload the new sound. Untitled 2. This should be it. Sounds pretty epic. Now we are going to go back to the code. Change the song, Untitled 2. So you get the idea. So what we're going to want to do is ways to kind of make the game a little more complicated, because you're always going to have students that go above and beyond, that want to add, as much detail as humanly possible. So one thing that you can add is you can add another character that they can dodge. So we're going to choose a sprite. Let's choose a bat. And that is way too big. So let's make it 30. Cool. And with this bat, we're going to do when clicked. And we kind of want to make them chase us. And we want to do that forever. So it kind of adds a little bit of evasion. And just those little 3 steps, students will be able to experiment and have loads of fun with their game. Of course, we're going to have to code what happens when the bat touches you, probably something like end all sprites, etc. So you do have the links for both this game, this version, and the simpler one, so you can always go back and to your recording that you have. One thing that I like to do and that you should be wary of is some of the steps that are involved. So one of the challenges that I had working with students is explaining, coordinates and things that they haven't been exposed to. Most students haven't taken algebra, so they haven't even seen a graph. So you could even do this in a math class where you can say, hey, this is a graph. You have X and Y, here's 0, 0, and actually teach them what the positions do and what they mean, and actually teach algebra. You have some operations here where time less than best time, and you have to be very confident in the order of operations to make sure the game functions as well as it can. As you can see, the timer is going down on the right-hand side of the screen, and it plays over and over. Another thing that you can do, or a feature that you may not be aware of, is that you can remix games. And so if the task is daunting, like, I really don't want to do that, you can go to the project page and see how many times this game has been remixed. Has the student fixed this? I believe they have. I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. So what they do is they have access to the project. You still keep the original one, but then they incorporate their changes. So as you can see, they made this game way easier than mine. Only 2 students in the whole school of about 1,000 could beat the original version of this, so they made it a little bit easier to beat. Let's go back. Open the share. Share screen. So we're going back. So these are the 3 programs. GarageBand, I don't know if you had experimented with it, but if you do have an iPhone, it's already on there. Very simple to use. You can also export and import from there. BandLab, it's another browser-based. It's like Soundtrap. It is also free. The only thing I don't like is that it has ads, and so you have to be wary of that. If you don't want to have ads, there is a paid version for that. And so, but you can really use any program to enhance this. It doesn't have to be these 3. But what I like are that the requirements are low. And so if most schools have Chromebooks, these 2 programs, Soundtrap and BandLab, will work wonders on them. But also if you want to have a paid version, that also tends to work better because you have classroom management skills. So as you can see, I'll have to share the screen one more time. Let's go to share. Sorry for the jumping around. Let's go to exit, save. So let's go to group. So as you can see, I have my classes set up, and I can see what the students are working on, and everything is streamlined, and I can check what they are doing and how they're doing as an assignment. It also integrates very well into Google Class or Canvas, Blackboard, and so there are links, and you can actually import music notation into the program. And so if you are teaching a music class, if there are any music teachers in the audience, that is another powerful tool that you can also use. So once again, I come from a musical background, so I am pretty familiar with how those things work. Are there any particular questions that you would like me to go over, or some clarifications, or any comments regarding particular projects with Scratch or audio? It doesn't have to be about the programs that I talked about. I've used Pro Tools, I use Logic. I am on a Mac, if you haven't noticed, so I tend to be in the Apple ecosystem because you can use an iPad, a phone, and all your projects are saved on the line. I appreciate that. I hope. Did I explore any AI music platforms? No, I have not, and I tend to have a love-hate relationship with AI. I like students to compose, and I think it's a wonderful thing, but I think giving the opportunity to use a keyboard or to kind of explore it on their own allows them to have a little bit more ownership. But no, I haven't. But if you could recommend any programs, I would be happy to hear them. Can I explain more about music extension? I'm not sure I understand regarding music extension, like music theory or like tools that you can use. Music extension in Scratch. I will share this PowerPoint. Scratch music extension. So as far as I know, let me go back. It's mostly just uploading sounds and editing sounds that you can use. So let's go back. So let's say I wanted to add. So everything that's under the sound tab. So this is everything that you can do. So you have faster, slower, louder, softer, mute, fade in, reverse, and robot, and as well as choosing sounds and recording. But it's a little more powerful to use a program that's dedicated just for that. So you can use everything in-house. So if you remember the sound effects that I used earlier, the I don't even remember what I used earlier. That was before the cow, the meow, the cat effect. So you can use everything in-house. So if you're not comfortable with using another program, you can do everything in Scratch, which is one of the reasons why it's such a powerful tool. However, if the students are already using a program or they're learning it in another class, it's a great way to cross-collaborate with another program and with another department entirely. So I recommend using a more powerful tool for audio, even though Scratch can handle it totally fine. But I just think personally, I think it's more engaging to use a program and say, wow, the students are gonna be like, wow, this is a professional audio program. And then practicing the skills of exporting and importing projects into other projects, because that's a skill that's entirely necessary for, the tech jobs that are essentially the future. So the more students are familiar with using other programs and combining them into other programs, the better prepared they are going to be. Great. I'm hearing wonderful suggestions. Boomy. Yes. I've heard of that before. Excellent. Any other questions regarding this presentation or just in general regarding Scratch? It could be about audio, coding, or just incorporating more STEM or STEAM, as I like to say, into your projects. So where is that? There it is. So I would like to say thanks. If your character goes off the path, then does the game restart? Yes, it does. So we incorporated that in our game. That starts. Of course, you can change it, and you can have more levels. The possibilities are endless. I will put my email if you have any questions or you want me to share anything directly. But I did post the links for both the simple version of this track game and the more complicated version, and so that you can use it entirely. So there's that. I will post the links one more time. So here is the simple game that we just did. And there's notes on there that you can totally look. You can also personally ask me questions. And then here is a full out version. I will give you kudos if you can actually beat this, because I have yet to beat it fairly on my on this one, on the more developed game. And as you can see, it only took us about a few minutes to actually make a fully functioning game. The Scratch link didn't work. Let me double check. I think because I have to save it, and it should. Yeah, there we go. I think because I was in edit still, it may not be able to allow other people to do that. Once again, thank you for your time, and I appreciate everyone that was here. I hope you got something out of it. It was really fun presenting for all of you, and I urge you to check out the other presentations because there's valuable information out there, and I will be doing the same. Once again, I am Juan Gonzalez, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today.